Hello everyone and welcome back to SIG Blender. In the last tutorial we made this nice little building to be in the background. In this tutorial I think we have enough of our assets that we can start thinking about where they'll be in respect to the camera and start setting up the ground based on that. Before we go into that, I kind of want to make just a little bit more adjustments to our building. Even if it's going to be in the distance, I think it will be nice if we make these edges a little less sharp. So the way we've done edges not being sharp so far, except we haven't really done it yet, but we're going to use one little modeling trick that a little tool I mentioned at the very start. So I'm just going to select all the edges along the side of this building and hit Control. Actually, we'll select all these too. Alright, so we have this entire perimeter selected because of the mirror. I'm going to hit Control B. I'm going to do it just a little bit. Just enough to see. Oh, that's a little too much. Okay. Right there should be good. And now our roof is a little beveled. It is going to be a lot less sharp when you see it in the distance. And so hopefully that'll make it look a little better. Anyway, like I said before, now we have some props, enough props to really start thinking about where they're going to go. We gotta start looking at this camera. So we've been kind of ignoring the camera for a while, but we're going to come back to it now. You can see here that the camera has a little camera tab that the other things don't have. Here you can change a lot of really useful stuff. You can change it to orthographic view, although we're going to keep it on perspective view. You can shift the look and so on and so forth, change on stuff. But this isn't the camera tower we're going to be going to. Actually, we're actually going to go to the little picture, little scene. This is where I'm going to change the resolution. So the default for Blender is a 1920 by 1080, which is a nice, nice wallpaper size. I'm thinking my vision for this though is going to be a square, square image. So I want to do 2048 by 2048. And you can see the camera changed to be a square now instead of a rectangle. And I want to render at the full 2048 by 2048, so I'm turning that up to 100%. Alright, so now we want to move this camera so that we're looking kind of at this scene. My perspective right now that I'm thinking of is that we're going to be looking down. The tree will be like over here, umbrella will be over here, these two will be up, something like that. Not exactly like this, but then there will be like a hill here and the building here. So we're going to move our camera with Alt-G, that moves it to 0, 0, and Alt-R, that clears rotation. We're going to rotate it on the Z by 90, rotate on the Z by negative 90 degrees, or negative 180 degrees. Whoops, I guess 180 and negative 180 are the same thing. This arrow is which way will be up for the camera, and so when I turn the camera up with R or Y, I want to be able to, see. So we're going to also rotate the Y by negative 1, I'd say normal 80. So instead of looking at a straight 90 degree, we're looking a little downwards. If you hit 0 on the numpad, your vision goes into the camera view. I know if you have a laptop, you might not have a numpad, in which case I believe you can turn that on somewhere. Input, let's see, emulate numpad, maybe then it'll work. Yeah, so if you turn on the setting in user preferences and go to input and click emulate numpad, that will turn your numpad into your normal numbers. So if you don't have the 3x3 numpad, you can hit that on like a laptop and use that 0. Otherwise, normal numpad also works. So with the camera selected, we're going to move the camera up, and then we're going to hit G, Z, Z, and that will move along local Z instead of global Z. And local Z is basically zooming it in and out, while global Z is moving up and down. So we're going to local zoom it out. Alright. Maybe a little more. Whoa. Too much. Alright. G, Z, Z. Back a little more. Alright. In order to move this building around, which I'm going to want to do, I need to apply all the modifiers that we have on these three objects. So we can go ahead and do that right quick. Mirror is pretty simple. We did a lot of arrays here, so it might take a while to apply, but to open them up and apply them all, and then finally apply the mirror. I think if you apply the mirror first, it won't, yeah, it'll mess it up. You can always control Z it, but just apply top down instead of down up. So now all of these objects are actually, yeah. Actually, we might have not done that. We probably shouldn't have done that in terms of wanting to texture them later. So I'm actually gonna undo all of that. Keep those back. The mirrors, or not the mirrors. I always call them mirrors. The windows you don't really need to mess with right now. Let's see if I move it in the Y, it breaks. Okay. So we just won't worry about moving the building on the X and Y right now. We will once we start adding color to objects, but since I want to do this one step at a time, I can't color it without finishing all this. So we're gonna wait up on the building. Alright, back to the camera. We'll move the tree with G, Shift Z first. We're gonna bring it close to us, and then GZ. We're gonna bring it up. I think I'm gonna rotate it a bit so it has a better view. Something like that. Yeah. Alright. Let me move it a little further away. Then we'll also move the umbrella close. I'm gonna make sure the umbrella and the tree are on the same axis in terms of height. And I think we made this this umbrella a little big, so I'm gonna go into edit mode. I'm gonna scale it down, and I'm gonna get Control Alt Shift C. Set geometry to origin. That just means that the center of the object is now in the center. You can move that back up. Actually, no, move it back up in object mode. Go back to the camera. Okay. So, let's see. So, like I said before, I'm thinking we have a hill. It goes like this. I'm gonna move this up to the plane actually, so it's kind of level. There we go. All right. So, how are we going to make a floor? It's pretty simple. We're gonna move our cursor back to 0, 0 with Shift C. We're gonna create a nice plane. Whoa, I created 2 planes. I'll only create 1 plane. And we're going to scale that plane right on up to cover basically everything we're going to need to cover. If we hit 0, as you can see, we want that little edge to not be seen. So we're going to scale up a little more so it's not seen, just like that. Alright. Then we're going to hit Tab to go in edit mode for this plane. W brings up a bunch of specials. We want to subdivide it, which is cutting it up. Changes the number of cuts to like 10. Hit W and subdivide all those subdivides again. Let's see. Do we want to do 2 cuts? 2 cuts should be good. Alright. So, like I said before, we're going to be making a hill right over here to line up with these 2 objects. So one way we can do it is we can just select all of these. This is the wrong way to do it, by the way. Well, this isn't necessarily the wrong way, but what I'm going to show you is if we just moved these up, as you can see, it doesn't really look good. It's not really that much of a hill, more just like a steep slope and then a flat. So we want to pick up the rest of these subdivisions we made as well instead of just this one subdivision. And the way we're going to do that is with proportional editing, which is right next to the point line face selector. After this thing that you should never click is the proportional editing. And so now when we hit GZ and we scroll, you can see it'll proportionally also increase the other points within the circle. And that's because we have smooth editing. If we want to say like a linear edit, that's also possible, so now it's a straight line. But smooth is usually what you want to go with when you're doing proportional editing, and proportional editing is a really useful tool when modeling, especially if you want to make more like dynamic curves. Like look how good this looks. Just looks so pretty, so nice. And it'll take forever to do with normal modeling. So I'm gonna select, let's see, I guess those. I guess that looks good. Whoa, what'd I do? Okay. And then I'm gonna scale it up. Make sure everything gets encapsulated. Let's look at the, yeah, it looks pretty good. Basically what I was going for. Yep. We'll also bring these lines up so it's not like, actually, kind of looks cool how the hill's kind of falling off at the back. I kind of like it. We're going to add a subdivision surface to make it all nice and smooth. And we're also going to not do that yet, actually. So, one thing we want to do about this, I'm going to rename this plane to be ground. One thing we want to do about the ground is that there's a lot of, if we zoom out, a lot of points that we're not using, a lot of geometry. So I'm going to just select all of that and delete whatever geometry we don't need. So, for example, all of this is not within the camera view of this box, so we don't need it. All of this, for those, and this, and this. All of that, all of these. Let's see here, all of those, except for those. Shift click deselects, by the way, so that's how I'm unselecting the ones that I went too far on. Okay. Oh, I gotta sneeze. And apologize. It's been a very dusty day. Alright. So, looks like we got everything. We can also, if you hit Control Alt Q, you can go into the top front right ortho mode and see all the things that weren't even envisioned that we can select. All those, all these. And then if you hit delete and faces, you can get all the extra ones as well. You can see that while nothing changed within our view, we have a whole lot less geometry. I'll actually see how much geometry we lost. We used to have 1,000 faces in the render, and now we only have 600. So that's a lot to cut out. That's really good. You generally want to keep that face count as low as possible if you want to have an easy render. The more faces, the more complex the textures, the longer the render will take. Sometimes it can take an absurdly long amount of time. Usually not for stuff we'll be doing because it's not going to be that high intensity, but it can get there. So you always want to be careful of your face count. Alright, so now we got a nice floor, a nice ground. And now we have just a generally better sense of what our render is going to be looking like, in my opinion. One last thing is we can select all of it and hit in the shading UV section, faces smooth. Now we'll smoothen out the subdivision, and now it looks smooth as a whatever you want to use in the metaphor. Alright. So, I think that'll be about it for this tutorial. For the next one, I think we will be setting up maybe some clouds for our rainy day. And then after that, we'll be getting into actually making a person to sit below this tree. And then we'll model them, rig them, make them jump around like a puppet, and it'll be a fun time all around. I hope you stay tuned for those.